This is the portfolio rubric guidance for KCCA1. Count to 100 by ones, fives, and tens. Count backward from 10. For this standard, this teacher is assessing the student's ability to count to 100 by ones, fives, and tens, and then also count backward from 10. This has 4 parts. When given this assessment, the teacher will ask the student to start with the number 1 and count to 100. Then, ask the student to start with the number 5, count by fives to 100. The third part is to ask students to start with the number 10 and to count by tens to 100. Then finally, the fourth part is to ask your students to start at the number 10 and count backward to the number 1. Once the student has mastered these 4 parts of the kindergarten standard, you can move into assessing the first grade standard. Levels 5 through 7 is assessing the first grade standard. This is the student's ability to count to 120 by ones, fives, and tens. This assessment has 3 parts. The teacher will ask the student to count to 120, start with the number 1. Then ask the student to start with the number 5 and count by fives and stop at the number 120. Finally, the third part is to ask your students to count to 120, starting at the number 10 and count by tens. In the suggested task, you will see that you can video all the parts at one time, or you can separate the parts into multiple videos. Just be sure to upload all 4 parts for the kindergarten standard or all 3 parts if you have moved into the first grade standard. This standard does require a video recording. Be sure your video includes the student's face as well as clearly hearing the student counting. This is a verbal assessment for all levels. If your student has mastered the kindergarten standard and you have moved into standard, the first grade standard, and you are assessing at levels 5 through 7, if the student masters any of those levels 5 through 7, you do not need to upload evidence of their mastery of level 4. Once you have your assessments, then it is time to move into scoring your assessments. The scoring rubric is used to score the student work, and this is not used to assess the student work. You will notice in the rubric, 100% accuracy is included at all levels. This means when counting, the student does not skip any numbers. If the student is not able to complete any of the 4 parts, that scores a level 0. If the student is able to complete at least 1 part, that is the score of a level 1. Keep in mind, you must submit all 4 parts. If the student is able to successfully complete 2 parts, that is a score of a level 2. If the student is able to do 3 of the parts, that is a level 3. If the student is able to do 4 parts correctly with 100% accuracy, that is a score of a level 4. Then when you move into the first grade standard, you will present the 3 parts of counting to 120. If the student is able to count to at least 105 by ones, 105 by fives, and 110 by tens, again with 100% accuracy, that is a score of a level 5. If they are able to get to 110 by ones, fives, and tens, that is the score of a level 6. When they are assessed all 3 parts and they can count to 120 by ones, fives, and tens, again with 100% accuracy, that is the score of a level 7.